Okay, and we are live.
Thank you. Hello and welcome everybody to tonight's virtual public meeting for the Town of Rotterdam Comprehensive Plan Update. It is October 19th and we are glad to have you join us this evening. I am Jacqueline Hakes, I'm Director of Planning with MJ Engineering, and we are the consultant team assisting the town through this comprehensive plan update. Joining me this evening is my colleague, Andrew Gilchrist, who will be serving as your webinar host. I'd like to briefly walk through what you can expect for this evening's session. First, I'm going to start with a webinar how-to so that you as participants and the public can understand how you can participate and how you can ask questions throughout this session. We will then have a welcome by your deputy supervisor and a roll call of those members of our committee and town staff that are present as panelists this evening. We'll provide a brief project update and then walk through the draft vision and goals and the draft vision map. And the intent is to really get your input and direction on these key items. We'll walk through what the next steps are in the process and then open it up for public Q&A. I do want to remind everybody you can always submit public comment even after this evening at the email address for the project, which is rotterdamnyplan@gmail.com. In terms of your webinar guide, here is how you can participate. First of all, there will be several interactive polls throughout the presentation, and we encourage you to participate. These polls are everything from us understanding a little more about the participants that are joining us this evening to us trying to get input and ideas and thoughts from you about what we are presenting. We will break to address questions at the end of this presentation. To ask questions, there are two ways you can go about doing this. The first is to utilize your Q&A function in your Zoom webinar panel. You can type in a question there, and at the end of the presentation, we will walk through those questions and address them as best we can. You can also use the raise the hand feature. What we will do is we will call on you and invite you in and unmute you so that you can ask a question directly of the panel. Following the webinar, again, you can submit comments and questions to rotterdamnyplan@gmail.com. We also do have a live online survey for the vision map, and I will share that information with you at the end of our presentation. And we do hope that you will participate in that online survey to give us more feedback. And lastly, a recording of the webinar will be posted on the project website at www.rotterdamnyplan.com/meetings. So that is how you can participate, and don't worry, we will walk you through this again when the time does come. But at this point, it gives me great pleasure to introduce your Deputy Supervisor, Evan Christou, and I would like to turn it over to him to do a brief welcome for us this evening.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. Kudos to everybody at MJ for their hard work in helping us plan a long-term vision for the town of Rotterdam. I want to welcome everybody who's participating from the advisory committee, participants, stakeholders, and everyone else. We've been watching from the outside in, and it's nice to get updates, and we look forward to keep working towards the goal of a completed plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Supervisor. We appreciate your time this evening. With that, I would like to turn it over to Andrew to go through a roll call of the panelists that are present with us this evening.
Sure. From the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee, Gregory Campoli.
Here.
Jonathan Tingley.
Here.
Paul. Milan Jackson. James Trigger. Lynn Flansburgh.
Here.
From the Town of Rotterdam, Deputy Supervisor Evan Christou.
Here.
Senior Planner Peter Comenzo. And I believe he is having some trouble with his audio, but he is here as well. And then from MJ Engineering, the consultant team, Jackie Hakes. and myself, Andrew Gilchrist.
Great. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you to the committee members and town representatives that are present this evening. Before we go into our presentation, I'd like to pause for a brief moment with our first live poll activity. And I'd like to ask Andrew to pull up the first poll. We'd like to understand a little bit more about who is joining us this evening. So if you could select all of the options that apply that show up on your screen over the next few seconds, we will share the results of this poll so you can all see who is joining us. Are you a resident, a business owner, a visitor, a property owner? Do you work in town? Or is there some other connection that you have to the community? So we will give everybody just a few more moments to be able to select your choice. And again, you can select all that apply here. We recognize many folks wear many hats.
Jacqueline, it doesn't seem to allow me to check more than one.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess you can only check the one that best represents you. Thank you, Evan.
Wow.
We missed that setting.
Yeah, because I try, if I hit resident, which I am, if I hit business owner, it unchecks resident. If I hit property owner, it unchecks business owner, and on and on. So I'm just going to put work in town.
All right. Select the one that best represents you. All right. We'll give everybody another minute or two. Second or two, rather. All right. And with that, let's go ahead and close the poll, Andrew, and share the results. All right, so recognizing that you could not select all, it looks like the majority of the folks that selected the resident option, with property owner coming in at 20%, visitor at 10%, 5% identified they work in town, and 10% identified themselves as other. But 55% of you joining us identified that you are residents. So thank all of you for joining us this evening. I'd like to ask one more question before we jump into the presentation. Andrew, if you could pull up that next poll, please. We'd like to understand how you heard about the webinar this evening. And this is helpful for us as we have entered into a world of virtual meetings, and we anticipate that this is likely to continue for a while. We want to understand how we can best advertise and publicize these types of activities for the comprehensive plan process. So please identify, how you heard about the webinar so that we understand what's working in terms of outreach and what may not be as successful in terms of outreach. So did you hear about this webinar through a news article in the newspaper, through social media, through the flyer, through the town or project website? Did you hear about it from a neighbor or through word of mouth? Or was there another avenue that you heard about this webinar? I'm going to go ahead and give you another couple of seconds to be able to identify how you heard about this evening's webinar. All right, Andrew, if you want to go ahead and close the poll and share the results, let's see. All right, so it looks like 37% heard about this webinar on the town or project website. Another 37% heard about it from another avenue. 26% through social media. 11% through word of mouth. Let's see, 5% through the flyer, and another 5% of participants heard about this through a newspaper article. All right, great. Well, this is helpful for us as we continue to have additional public outreach, which we will be having throughout this, project update. Okay. So now we'd like to get into a little bit more of the presentation. It has been some time since we were together. Oh, pardon me. It has been some time since we were together with the public. The last time we had our larger, more traditional, I guess, in-person public open house. And so this is our third public engagement session. And obviously it is a virtual session. I'm throwing this graphic up there to show you that we are in this location where you see that pink circle for our third public workshop. However, as you can imagine, the schedule of this effort has been shifted as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so the committee has been working and continuing to work, and we are getting back into the groove and getting back on target to be able to advance to a draft comprehensive plan update that we can share with the public over the next few months. What we have been doing over the course of this time is we continue to work on the existing conditions inventory and analysis. We do have a draft prepared, and we continue to refine that as we learn more about the community. There has been a substantial amount of public engagement. This is a constantly in progress task throughout the duration of the project. We have held 8 stakeholder group meetings to date. As I mentioned, there had been 2 previous public workshops, tonight's public virtual webinar. We've held 3 pop-up stations over the course of it was the end of last year. Senior center in both schools. We've completed an online community survey, and then also worked with students as part of their government class and have incorporated a student-generated survey into our existing conditions components. We have worked to develop the draft vision and goals. I know it says that is complete, but we have drafted those. That is what is being presented to you this evening. However, we are looking to gather input from you about the draft vision and goals to make sure that they are on target. And then we are initiating the framework for your draft comprehensive plan document. I'd like to ask another question of the public. And Andrew, if you could bring up the live poll activity. As I mentioned, we have had several public engagement activities and events throughout the duration of this process so far. We'd like to understand if any of you that are participating this evening have joined us for one of those public engagement events. Whether it's an open house, a pop-up table, if you participated in the online survey, if you joined us for a stakeholder meeting, or if you have not yet participated in a public engagement event, we'd like to know and understand that from you. So we'll give you just another moment or two to identify your response. All right, Andrew, let's go ahead and close the poll and share the results with everybody. All right, so 50% of you joining us this evening have participated in a public open house previously. 20% participated in one of our pop-up tables, 10% in the online survey. Another 20% have participated in stakeholder meetings. And then 35% have not yet participated in a public engagement activity for the comprehensive plan. So welcome and thank you for joining us this evening for those that have not yet participated. All right. At this point, I'd like to introduce your draft vision. So all of these previous engagement activities, along with the work with the committee, the existing conditions evaluation, have really helped to shape your draft vision. And I want to say that the ideas and concepts that are presented from this point forward in the presentation are in draft form, and we are presenting these to you as the community. And we really want to seek your input on what we have drafted so far to make sure that it does reflect the direction of your community moving forward. And the intent really is to learn from you after we present this this evening. So with that, I am going to hand this off to Andrew, who will be walking through your draft vision and goals over the next few slides. Andrew?
Sure. Thank you, Jackie. And just to add to what Jackie was mentioning, one of the ways that sort of this draft vision has come together is through input from various sources, including input from the public through our public engagement events, as well as from our stakeholder meetings, conversations with the town, conversations with the committee, So this is sort of a culmination of all of that input. So with that, I'm just going to read through this draft vision. The town of Rotterdam is a thriving, friendly community of distinct neighborhoods that together create a desirable place to live, work, and play. Locally owned businesses, walkable neighborhoods, excellent schools, and vibrant commercial corridors, as well as an active industrial area, support a growing tax base, employment opportunities, and a high quality of life. At the crossroads of several major transportation routes, Rotterdam is accessible to and from major capital region destinations for employment, retail, and institutions of higher education. Rotterdam enjoys a diversity of housing options, from historic single-family neighborhoods to multifamily neighborhoods. There are housing choices to accommodate all generations. Rotterdam is respectful of its rich history and natural resources, prioritizing the health and well-being of its residents, visitors, and the environment. Parks and recreational opportunities abound, providing options for people of all ages to connect with nature and each other. So moving on to the draft topic areas, the comprehensive plan itself will sort of be centered around these topic areas, and within each topic area are a series of goals that address the needs and the opportunities of the community, and these goals and the recommendations of the plan that will be created all aim to achieve the vision that I just stated. So with that, the topic areas that are have been identified include neighborhoods and housing, transportation and mobility, economic growth, history, culture and education, natural resources, agriculture and the environment, parks and recreation, infrastructure and governance. The goals that are associated with neighborhoods and housing include the following: preserve and enhance the character and unique identity of existing neighborhoods and hamlets, create places and activities to celebrate community, maintain and enhance existing housing stock, support housing options that are appropriately located, meet the needs of seniors and all generations, and serve all incomes. Next.
And so, Andrew, I'm going to just interject
Sure.
very briefly before you do move on, and just say, with regard to the vision statement, as well as these draft goals, it's helpful to understand that the vision statement is forward-looking. It is where where you can imagine the town being in the next 5, 10, 20 years. And then these goals are those steps that you can take over that period of time to achieve that long-term forward-looking vision. So just to keep that in mind as Andrew's walking through these topic area goals.
Right, so these are aspirational, not necessarily where the community is today.
Great.
Next is transportation and mobility. There are 3 goals associated with this topic, including maintain a safe, reliable, and efficient transportation system that provides multimodal access to all residents and visitors. Enhance the walkability of historic hamlet areas and increase neighborhood connectivity. Improve accessibility of neighborhood commercial corridors by completing the street. Next. So for economic growth, promote investment and reinvestment to attract and retain local businesses and employment opportunities. Ensure that commercial growth occurs in a manner that maintains the character of the community while expanding the town's tax base and the availability of services to members of the community. Support and promote existing commercial and industrial areas. Next is history, culture, and education. Protect, enhance, and promote historic and cultural resources of the town for the enjoyment of community members and visitors. Expand opportunities for residents and visitors to experience history, arts, and culture. And support and foster educational opportunities to ensure the success of future generations. Natural resources, agriculture, and the environment. Preserve and protect key natural resources and critical environmental areas, including the Great Flats Aquifer. Preserve and protect farmland and support local agricultural economy. Parks and recreation. Provide recreational opportunities that utilize the scenic and natural resources of the town. Provide a diversity of year-round recreational opportunities for the enjoyment of all residents and visitors. And finally, infrastructure and governance. Ensure the availability of public facilities, infrastructure, and emergency services that adequately serve the present and future needs of Rotterdam. Great. And now Jackie is going to oh, actually, we have a poll. Great. So the next poll that I will share up on the screen in just a moment. With regards to the vision that you just heard, in general, do you support the proposed draft vision? Yes, no, are there some components of it that you do, or are you just not sure? And Jackie, I don't know if maybe you want to put on the screen the draft vision again, just so people can see it.
Sure, Andrew, we're not seeing the poll, however.
Oh, well, that would
If
help.
you could share
There we
the
go.
poll. Yeah. And then unfortunately, if with the poll being shown, no one's going to be able to see the vision. So we recognize that that was a lot to take in a very short period of time, but we're looking for your initial reaction, your initial impressions of the proposed vision. We are hoping that you will be able to take a little time through the online survey, and we'll share again with you the link to that, or through the project email. This presentation, as well as a recording of this evening, will be on the project website. So we would like you to take some time to digest that and share with us. But for now, what are your initial reactions? Do you think that you're supportive of this? Do you like some components, or you're just really not sure? So we'll give you another second or two. All right. With that, Andrew, if you would mind closing the survey, and let's see what the results are. All right, do you want to walk through the results, Andrew, or would you like me to do that?
So 65% of the people who responded said yes, they do support. We have none for no, 30% for some components, and 5% said not sure.
Okay. All right. And I believe we did have another poll, Andrew.
We do. Now, with regards to the draft goals and topic areas, generally, do you support the proposed draft topic areas and goals? Yes, no, somewhat, not sure.
All right, and again, with the vision, similar to the vision, we do recognize there was a lot of information that Andrew just walked through, but we're looking for your initial reaction to this. And again, hoping that you will take some time following this evening to weigh in and evaluate even further. All right, Andrew, if you want to go ahead and close that.
Okay, so 86% said yes, 0% said no, 7% said somewhat, and 7% said not sure.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for participating in these polls. It is helpful, and I will say we are pleased that generally I think that the vision is reflective of what you are hoping your community will be over the long term, as are the goals for the topic areas. What we'd like to do now is to move into the vision map. And before we go into that, Andrew, just very quickly, I think if you can help to unmute Peter, that would be helpful, I think. So I'm going to move into the vision map. And so the vision map is a visual representation of that community vision that Andrew just described. It illustrates how that vision is applied to the built environment. It provides the framework and the direction for decision making within the town. And components of this vision map will be expanded upon, and recommendations will be included in the draft comprehensive plan to help achieve this vision map. Similar to the vision itself, as well as the goals, This vision map was developed through community input, all of the variety of community engagement activities that we've already discussed, through stakeholder input, discussions with your committee, the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee, as well as a review of previous planning documents. And I do want to state that the town has, while it has been some time since the town has updated its comprehensive plan, you as a community have engaged in planning exercises and planning processes throughout that time period. And so we wanted to make sure to incorporate all of that work in our review. And the existing conditions evaluation is helpful as well. And so we've taken all of that information and gathered that and synthesized it into what I'm going to show you as the vision map. I do want to remind everybody, this is not a zoning map. It is not parcel specific. There may be recommendations that come out of your comprehensive plan for proposed modifications to land use policy. However, that is not this vision map right now. I do want to briefly remind you of the vision. So here's another chance to see the vision. And I want to highlight some key elements here that we really started to pull out to be able to help illustrate. It's your neighborhoods, vibrant corridors, crossroads equaling access to the town, and connections. When we synthesize all of that down, we come to this. You are a community of neighborhood nodes and connections, and that is the desire, the vision to aim for over the next 5, 10, 20 years within the town of Rotterdam. Again, neighborhoods, nodes, and connections. So what does that mean in terms of your potential built environment? We're going to walk through that. First, we're going to talk about mixed use nodes. Nodes of commercial activity and key locations and corridors. They create vibrant and attractive destinations. These live, work, shop places to socialize and gather, although I do recognize that has taken on a different form over the last few months, but really creating that sense of vibrancy, promoting mixed use development. So that could be perhaps commercial and retail activities, service activities on the first floor, residential on upper floors, or office on upper floors. It's an opportunity to not only develop where there is space for new development, but redeveloping and rethinking that next evolution of your development along these key nodes. Compact and walkable areas. Having a consistent aesthetic with regard to your building design and streetscape to help people recognize they're in the town of Rotterdam. And with the more compact areas, it does create opportunities for enhanced multimodal options. So where are these mixed nodes landing within the community? Based on all of that we have shared with you so far, we've identified a series of 6 mixed use nodes, and those are represented by the stars that you see, the blue stars that you see there. And I'm going to just share a highlight here. And so I'm quickly going to walk through the location of these. The letter label means nothing other than to just help distinguish them for your purposes. So we'll start down here. This is the Carmen Road, Hamburg Street node. We have the Hannaford Plaza node here on Altamont Avenue, the Curry Road, Altamont Avenue node here. We have the Five Corners node. Over here near Route 7 in Chalmont, we have the Western Gateway node. And then up here at what we're identifying as letter S, we have the Viaport Mall node. So again, these are locations for concentrated, compact development that can really create a sense of community and provide services as well as opportunities for commercial, retail, office, and residential in a redevelopment mode. Next up on the vision map, we want to talk through with you about corridor improvements and neighborhood connections. So these are the locations where there are opportunities to improve key transportation and commercial corridors that do exist, but they also provide important connections to your residential neighborhoods. And so we've identified what we're calling a hamlet center mixed use, which are these blue dotted lines here, as well as a corridor mixed use, which are these pink magenta dotted lines down in the southern portion of the town. In terms of the hamlet center mixed use areas, again, these are areas primarily up in the Rotterdam Junction area. The distinction between the hamlet center mixed use and the mixed use corridor is really about the scale of the type of development and redevelopment that can happen. It's a much different feel in terms of the scale of development in this area, in the Rotterdam Junction area. And so we want to recognize that and be respectful of that as we're proposing for additional improvements or enhancements along here. In this area, it's particularly important to provide those connections to the existing neighborhoods and the recreational areas. There's some pretty substantial and amazing recreational areas in this particular hamlet center mixed use area, as well as streetscape improvements, so pedestrian amenities, street lighting, that sort of thing. One of the key things to keep in mind with regard to this particular area of the community is the impact of the aquifer on development. We do recognize that that is a challenge with development, and we will be addressing this specifically in the comprehensive plan. And we do want to make sure that the discussion in the comprehensive plan does reflect the reality of some of those challenges for development and redevelopment. With regard to the corridor mixed use portion of this, again, we are down to the southern portion of the area, and you can see that each of these dotted lines that my cursor is highlighting now purposely connect to the mixed use nodes that we previously had talked about. So again, it's about those connections. These are also key commercial transportation corridors within the community. And the intent here is to promote for mixed use and redevelopment along these corridors and infill development. And as you travel along several of these corridors, you can see some have already started to transition into more of a kind of a mixed use type of or commercial type of development. And so expanding on that and focusing opportunities for redevelopment and infill, because this is an area where infrastructure already exists in the community. Again, here, thinking about consistent design and aesthetics for buildings and your streetscape. What do your streets look like? How do they function? Promoting, again, multimodal transportation options and linking to neighborhoods. And those links don't necessarily have to be vehicular links, but they can be pedestrian and bicycle links. Moving on to key regional access. One of the things that was pointed out, not only and pointed out by the community, but also reflected in the vision, is the fact that there are several significant regional access points to the town of Rotterdam. We've identified those with the purple areas here. So those are key access points off of I-90 as well as 890. And that's a really interesting and unique opportunity for the town. It provides easy access not only into the community, but easy access for goods and services and folks to work outside of the community. So there's both options there. It's an opportunity to attract potentially future employers and businesses, as well as future residents. So there is an opportunity here to market this access from an economic growth perspective for the community. And these can also serve as gateways into the town. And so there can be opportunities to expand the gateway features as folks arrive into the communities from these main regional access points. And then lastly, what we have illustrated here on the vision map is a collection of items really focused on maintaining and enhancing existing character. So one of the things that is really interesting about the community is how much folks really appreciate their neighborhoods and the area where they reside. And so we wanted to be respectful of that and recognize that. And so what we've identified are neighborhoods and connections. And that is kind of this yellow shaded area all the way up into Rotterdam Junction, some of these areas around here. And this primarily represents, outside of those mixed use nodes and mixed use corridors, a lot of the residential areas and the residential neighborhoods. We also recognize that there are significant active industrial areas within the community which provide needed tax base and opportunity for business growth. And those areas are in the lighter shaded area here, and there's another here. And those areas are identified as well to maintain and enhance to be able to provide that tax base and economic opportunities for the community. This kind of purplish shaded area that you see here, well, it's purple on my screen. Actually, it might be a little more of a brown tan colored on your screen. This is a rural agriculture and natural resources character area. And the intent here is to really support those types of uses in the area and to be able to expand agribusiness and that sort of thing as needed, while recognizing that there is residential in that area and that character is proposed to be retained. One of the interesting things about this area is that there is limited infrastructure in terms of sewer, water. There are some environmental constraints, a lot of steep slopes, and this is a part of this area is also part of the aquifer. So recognizing some of the existing conditions there and integrating that in. And then lastly, the green areas that you see, these green dotted areas, those represent parks and recreation areas that are important to the community in terms of those connections and opportunities for your community. So again, with regard to the overall maintaining and enhancing the existing character outside of those nodes, corridors, it's enhancing the connections, promoting economic development and supporting the tax base, supporting agriculture and agribusiness, enhancing existing and exploring opportunities for perhaps new recreational areas. So that was a very brief overview of the vision map. And we're going to stop for a moment, and similar to the last live poll questions that we asked you, we'd like to get your initial reaction to that, recognizing there will be opportunities following this evening for you to continue to share your thoughts. We're going to do a little bit of a different poll for this. We wanted to change things up a little bit. So this will be a live poll, and we want to ask you to either go to pollev.com/MJPlanning518 or text MJ Planning 518 to 37607, or you can take a photo of that QR code right on your screen and it'll take you directly to a Poll Everywhere app. So I'm going to give you just a moment to load that up. Grab a quick drink. All right, again, so you can take a photo of that QR code at the bottom of your screen, text MJ Planning 518 to 37607, or go to pollev.com/MJ Planning 518. Okay, so I'll give everybody just another moment. I'll look to the panelists to give me a thumbs up. Is that enough time for everybody to log on? Oops. All right. So here is the first question. And hopefully this is working. What elements of the proposed vision do you like best? And so what we're asking, if you can type in any words, anything that you want here, it should hopefully show up And so we encourage you to identify those things that you liked best out of the proposed vision map. And again, these are those things, your initial reactions. So far we have improved streetscapes, sidewalks, easier bike access, and maybe some bike share. Folks like the regional access points. All right, what other elements did you like best of the proposed vision map? All right, we'll give folks a few moments. And again, you can text MJ Planning 518 to 37607. I find it helpful as an overview of the current town, but it's not clear what it proposes changing. The multimodal options, the fact that it is an outlined plan as opposed to a scattered bunch of ideas. Okay, and I will get to that question about what the proposed changes are in just a moment. Other thoughts? All right, the mixed use nodes. All right, again, and you can text MJ Planning 518 to 37607 to share your ideas here. Need a town park for youth sports, okay. Great. Keep your thoughts coming about what you like best, and then we do have another question following this. All right, we will give you just another few moments to be able to add your thoughts about what elements you like best of the proposed vision map that was just introduced. Okay. All right, so we'll quickly recap so far the need a town park for youth sports. Oh, we have one more coming in. The outline is good, and I look forward to some of the smaller details, such as sidewalks. Okay. It's an outline plan versus a scattered bunch of ideas. The multimodal options, helpful as an overview, but there are questions about what it proposes changing, understood, and we will address that. Regional access points. We have others coming in, the mixed use nodes, the diverse zones in our town. I'll recap some here. Again, the multimodal options, regional access, improved streetscapes, sidewalks, easier bike access, sidewalks and infrastructure. All right, we'll give folks just another moment and then we will move on. All right. All right, well, thank you, everybody. This was helpful. We appreciate your initial thoughts for this. And now we're actually going to ask the reverse question. Oh, there's a couple more coming in. All right, the ability to attract outside businesses. All right. So with that, all right, I'm going to lock this now and hopefully advance on to the next slide. Okay. There we go. All right, bear with me a moment. So Andrew, I'm having a hard time advancing to the next slide. Hold on just a moment. All right. All right, so I am caught in a pardon me, folks. I'm caught in a loop, and it's
Might have to exit out and start the slideshow again.
all right. Technical difficulties. Hold on a moment. Bear with me. All right, so apologies for that, folks. So you can use the same QR code or text MJ Planning to 518 text MJ Planning 518 to 37607. And we'd like to also understand what elements you liked the least of the proposed vision map. This helps us understand if we are on the right track. And so we would encourage you to identify if there are any elements that you weren't so sure about, or you might want to have explained a little bit more. So we will give you a few moments. Well, so far, this is, we do appreciate that. There we go. All right, increased residential density, area feels very congested. We don't need more apartment buildings in our already major neighborhoods. Okay. Other thoughts or concerns that you might have? Increasing residential density. Okay, I prefer that not happen. Okay. What other thoughts? All right, we'll give folks a little while. Five Corners has not been addressed. Okay. Could show connections to adjoining municipalities better. Okay. Other things you'd like to have addressed. All right, it would be nice to identify areas for small pocket parks. Okay. All right, other thoughts, things you'd like to have us address. All right, maybe will be discussed later, but would prefer more park development, including dog parks. Okay. All right, other things that you would like to have included. How does the vision influence the vision map that appears to show existing conditions? Okay, we can certainly help to address that. Sure. Other thoughts, comments? Okay. Widening Curry Road or decreased traffic. Okay. How does the map address traffic and congestion? There may not be enough ways to get from one place to another. Okay. So yes, several of these elements that you are all raising, very good points. And the level of detail of the vision map does not get there at this point. But in terms of next steps, we will be working with the committee and identifying specific recommendations to help address some of these more detailed items. The school locations, I think perhaps they're asking if we can identify the school locations in the vision map. That makes sense. They're key destinations. All right, and we'll wrap this up in just another couple of minutes. If I'd like to see decent-sized park that can be used without group sports going on, possible for small kids or the elderly population. Okay. All right, so we'll just keep this open for another minute or so, and then we will move on with the presentation and then get to the Q&A session. Okay. All right, so any last comment here, and then we will go ahead and move on. Okay, so I'm going to lock that. Okay, so I didn't get caught up in that loop again. Well, thank you, everybody. We do appreciate you sharing some of your initial thoughts. We will take all of those thoughts and those ideas and what we learned from you this evening through the live polls, we will save and we will be digesting and sharing with the committee. And what we learn from our Q&A, as well as any input that comes in through the project website, project email address, and the online vision map survey, we will use to revise the vision map, and that will be based on your input and our direction from the committee. We will use that to start shaping the draft comprehensive plan. So we will start preparing recommendations to achieve that vision. And that's where more of the detail will come into play that some of you were identifying in terms of your initial responses. I do want to remind you this is a comprehensive plan, so it is broad in nature. However, there will be specific recommendations that will hopefully help to provide enough direction so that the town can start to achieve its vision. At this point, we do tentatively have a committee meeting scheduled for next Thursday, October 29th. That will be via Zoom, and so we will be providing information on the project website of how to listen in on that public meeting, or that committee meeting rather. And we will be discussing some of the input that we have gotten to date. I want to introduce you all to the Rotterdam Vision Map Survey. So this is a survey specific to this vision map and the vision that we have presented this evening. Again, we recognize there was a lot of information shared with you today, so we want to be able to have you have time to review this, provide your input. You can go to the RotterdamNYPlan.com website, and right on the homepage, correct, Andrew? We've identified a link to the survey. And you can also email comments to RotterdamNYPlan@gmail.com. And the survey is live right now, right, Andrew?
That's correct.
Great. Okay. And with that, we would like to hear from you at this point in terms of participants. To post a question, again, you can utilize the Q&A function in your Zoom webinar panel and type a question for us. You can also use the raise hand feature to speak with the panel. And so we will unmute you at that point in time and you can ask your question and we will do our best to try and address it. All right. So with that, Andrew, do we have any questions coming in?
We do have a question initially from Matthew Hearn. He asked, is there a way to subscribe to receive updates on plan development progress and future meeting and event notifications via email? I can take that if you'd like.
Yes, please do.
So we would encourage you to send us an email. The email is RotterdamNYPlan@gmail.com. And once you send us an email, we do save that in our database. And anytime we have an event coming up or updates, we do send that out to our email list. So I would encourage you to send us an email. And also, if you have any additional comments or thoughts you'd like to give to us, we can take them there as well. Again, that's RotterdamNYPlan@gmail.com.
Great. Thanks, Andrew. Other questions?
That's it for now.
Okay.
Jackie, I wonder if we might go back to those couple of questions we had from the survey. The first one was, what does the plan actually propose to change?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. So at this point in time, we are working toward the specific recommendations which would identify what would change. But with regard to the mixed use nodes, it's really about creating more walkability and opportunities for redevelopment within those nodes and to create a more cohesive character within each of those nodes. Within the commercial corridors, what is proposed is to allow for growth to occur in those areas. Yes, I recognize that some folks had identified those are already built out, but looking at that next generation of infill and redevelopment to occur there that can better serve the community, whether it's commercial, retail services, or other options for residential. There's a really interesting mix right now in some of those areas of some single family homes, some commercial activity. So really trying to create a little more cohesive corridor and really focusing also on the aesthetics of the built environment, making it welcoming for folks to walk and really creating creating a space where folks know they have arrived and they are in the town of Rotterdam. So a little more signature appearance for the town and in each of these corridors.
Great. And we do have someone raising their hand, Joseph Guidarelli. So I will go ahead and allow you to talk, and you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, I actually submitted it because.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to say it out loud, or do you want to give us your question?
Yeah, I just was curious, how many people attended this tonight and participated in the survey?
The overall, the online community survey?
Yes, and just tonight in general, when we had that, like how many people were in on the meeting tonight and participated, yeah, on the surveys that were being flashed up on the screen.
We had a total of 22 registrants tonight, and I don't have a number for you right now on how many took the polling questions at the moment. But in terms of the online community survey, it was actually
I'm looking at the numbers right now, Andrew. Yes.
70 something.
Hold on.
Just one moment.
Okay, no, that's fine. I was just curious tonight how many people were on.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, and so we did have 223 participants in the previous online community survey, which closed in April. Okay. Are there, I'd like to ask our committee members and town representatives, any comments or thoughts that you may want to share this evening?
Yes, and I hope Mr. Guidarelli is not on anymore. I was going to hope that he was involved in this question. Is the comprehensive plan going to address and or clarify parameters for home-based businesses? We've had some issues in our town as far as language is concerned, and are certain codes now, whether certain businesses are allowed to operate from home versus other businesses that are not allowed to operate from home. It's an issue that really I want to just see A, B, or C clarified and cleaned up. I mean, if somebody's in the neighborhood, which is again back to that residential density topic, and they're getting 30, 40 UPS deliveries a week, is that a home-based business? I guess. And you know, I think that if we can reach out possibly in some other communities and other comprehensive plans as a benchmark to see how that can be addressed, strictly for clarification. I have friends who have home-based businesses. I have other friends who feel, I'm in the same business. It's an unfair advantage. They don't have to pay commercial taxes. Their water's not metered, and on and on and on. So I'd like to see something in the comprehensive plan address that for purpose of clarity and no gray areas.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Thank you, Evan. So two things. Number one, the level of detail in identifying the specific business and the thresholds of what might be categorized as a home-based business, and what the requirements might be of a home-based business. Are you registered? Do you still have to provide for parking, et cetera? That level of detail truly is a zoning question and would be addressed at the time that the zoning were to be updated. However, if that is a concern in certain areas within the community, we can identify if the community wants to have this included, it can be identified in the comprehensive plan to provide some direction for that zoning update. Identifying what some of the impacts might be to the character of a neighborhood, and how there are options that might be considered to be addressed in the zoning. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
Andrew,
Jackie and Andrew, can you guys address the question? Maybe you did a little bit, but maybe again for clarification.
Mm-hmm.
I think someone had raised that the draft vision map seemed to represent a snapshot of existing conditions in town, whereas the vision statement was more forward-looking. Can you address that issue?
Sure, sure. Yes, it probably did look somewhat similar to what you have. What we're looking at is really enhancing what you have there. You have a pretty built out area in the southern part of the community. So looking at how to reshape that within your existing built environment in a way that can enhance opportunities for commercial retail services in close proximity to your residential areas, enhancing those connections. It's about tweaking what you have in a way that can get you where you want to be, not necessarily significant wholesale changes. So it's kind of incremental changes along the way within those nodes, within those corridors. That's really what we've started to see as we internally were working through this. Some communities, it's a pretty significant change that they want to see in certain areas. What we've been hearing, and that's why we want to check in with the public to see if this is reflective of what you want, is to build upon what you have and to enhance what you have in a way to kind of take you forward.
Okay, so we don't have any more questions at this point. There was the other question from the survey. How does the vision influence the vision map?
Yeah, that is a good one. The vision does influence the vision map. And so all of the work that goes into developing the vision really helps us to shape that vision map. And so the vision as something aspirational is we take that and then try to apply it to your built environment, right? And to see where those components of the vision make the most sense within your community, understanding your existing conditions, understanding your built environment, understanding perhaps some constraints you might have from an environmental perspective to expanding infrastructure, and being respectful of what you already have in place. So that's, I hope that clarified how the two are connected.
Great. And that's all the questions we have at this point.
Okay. Well, with that, if there are no other comments from the committee, that's all that we have for this evening. Again, I would encourage anybody who's participating to go to the project website, rotterdamnyplan.com. Please take the survey, share with us your comments via the project email. We do want to hear from you, and thank you very much for joining us this evening. This will be, a recording of this will be posted tomorrow on the project website, so you can go ahead and listen in again on our discussion this evening. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Take care.
Good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.